Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Lead Out podcast. Today, I have another wonderful guest, an incredible lady that I had the pleasure of talking last week. I had a wonderful chat with her. We connected once again on the Serving Circle, I believe, Tyson's amazing, wonderful community. I mean, what can I say about Catana? Catana is absolutely wonderful. She lives in a beautiful city called Paris in Tennessee. And we just had a chat we're going to talk about that in a moment. I told her that one of the things I really want to do is visit all 50 states in the US. And she said that she's done all of them except three. And we're going to talk about that because that's something I would love to do. And yeah, what she's doing, she's amazing. She's a transformation art and wellness strategist. She helps professionals over 40 relief from negative triggers and trauma. She's been 22 years a professional as a therapist, overcoming traumas and 3 rapes and all that. So we have a lot to cover. It's going to be a wonderful, very inspiring episode because she has a very powerful story and an equally inspiring mission. So we're going to talk about all of that. So Catana, my friend, welcome to the show. It's an absolute honor having you.
Thank you, Payman. It is an absolute honor to be here with you today.
Pleasure's all mine. So first, for people who don't know you, as I told you, this podcast is about getting to know the person, to have a look under the hood, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. So people who don't know you, Catana, who's Catana as a person, as a human being?
The person I am as a human being, I love people. I love helping people. I always have, even since I was a little kid. I am an artist. I'm a professional artist, but I've been one since I could pick up a pencil. And I'm just all about helping the world heal. I would really like to see a world of people at peace and not experiencing as much violence and pain as they do.
That's wonderful. We're going to dive into that. But first, let's keep finding out about you as a person. Tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
My family, going to the beach, because when I'm at the ocean, I regenerate and it's just so peaceful. It's a place for me to really come back to connecting with myself and recentering. And my art. That's what makes me happy, is just being able to express myself from the inside wholly.
That's wonderful. Now, what makes you smile?
I love to smile all the time. And what makes me smile is being able to make other people smile. Truly.
Love that. Love that. Now, let's take the happiness one step further. What makes your heart sing? What makes you come alive as a person?
Helping people, first and foremost. And I have a long history of doing that, both through political activism and my own work in helping people find relief from the negative triggers and trauma.
Amazing. Fantastic. Now let's look at the other side of the spectrum. What makes you sad and angry?
What makes me sad is the violence toward children, men, women, everybody. It makes it easy to keep us separated. And it's disheartening every time I see a story in the news about a violent situation, regardless of what it is and who it is. It really breaks my heart and it brings me to tears. Now, what makes me angry? The injustice of so much injustice. There's so much abuse, systemic abuse. There's abuse between people. And there's a disconnect between people being able to have what they need and what's available. There are lots of resources available. And unfortunately, the largest percentage of people aren't able to have access to those resources. And some folks feel that only certain people should have access. So that really, really angers me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of the news, that's one of the reasons I haven't been watching the news for I don't know God long how long, 3 4 years. Just this morning, I was chatting with a friend of mine in Hong Kong. He was telling me, "Hey, how's the situation in Canada? How are things?" I said, "Listen, I have no idea, and I don't care because I don't watch the news. The news is only going to make me more upset and sad over things I have no control over. Instead, I'd rather focus on things I can control, things that actually matter to me, to my life, to what's important, my business, my family, my health, and my hobbies. I mean, if I one of the best advice I've got was someone very wise who said, "Listen, if something is important, you will hear about it. You don't have to be glued to the TV 24/7 because it's going to make you sad and you're going to waste your time and for what? Instead, focus on what matters to me, what you can control." And I've been doing this and I've been very happy. I don't think I'm missing anything on not watching the news. So and that's an advice I would give to anyone. Stop watching the news. It's only gonna make you more sad, negative, because the news is all about, spreading a, feeling of negativity, division, and fear and all that. Instead, focus on that's why one thing I love doing is watching comedies, even cartoons, because smiling and laughing is the biggest medicine in my life. In the world. I read a quote from a doctor a few weeks ago that said, if every doctor in the world would prescribe 1 hour of mandatory laughing and smiling every day to every person on this planet, within a month, 80 to 90% of all ailments would be gone because 80 to 90% of all ailments are due to stress. But when you're happy, when you smile, when you laugh, you're happy, that makes the environment toxic for stress. And if you're not stressed, then you cannot be sick. So it's a no-brainer, and I wish more people were doing that. So yes, smiling for me is the most important thing. I always look for reasons to smile and to laugh because ultimately no one else can make you happy, only you. So that's amazing. Now tell us, Kitana, what scares you?
I think what scares me is the apathy and the notion that people hold that they have absolutely no control to change the environment. Because we do have the ability to change the environment, even one person at a time. We have the ability to change the environment, and seeing the divisiveness and what that's doing. I mean, we're experiencing cases where we're being told that there's scarcity of food and clothing and cars, and we're watching the prices of everything go up as a result of this. And some of that is due to real world things, maybe chips not available to make new automobiles. But from what I was reading as an example, used vehicles are worth more than they were when they were originally for sale.
Sure.
And there's less people able to buy them because their wages don't match what they need, and or their credit was damaged during COVID. So just things of this nature that it's almost as if they're using fear
Oh, totally.
to control us and keep us away from what they're not doing
Or actually,
as
what
leaders.
what are they really doing behind the scene? Because this thing is only just a facade to hide what they're really doing behind the doors.
Yes.
No, absolutely. One thing I read about the food issue, the food crisis. I read one time something that really blew my mind. Said in the U.S. alone, every day there's enough food being wasted by a restaurant that can feed the entire planet for a week. Just
Yes.
let that sink in. Every day, restaurants, not just the U.S. So now, if you expand that to other countries, each day we have enough food to that wasted around the world. Let's talk only about the Western, the civilized countries. Enough food every day being wasted, thrown by restaurant that can feed the entire planet for a month, if not 6 months, every single day. Now imagine if we were to just instead of wasting, just give, repackage a portion of that to people in need, not just in any other country, even in our own backyard. There's a lot of people having struggled, just, the fridges are empty, the bank accounts are empty.
Mhm.
And even if we just give these people, you have no idea what's going on in your neighbor's life. Maybe on the outside, it might look okay, but inside, we have no idea, because nowadays nobody even talks to the neighbors. We all connected on the phone, on the computer with people around the world. But our neighbor, we don't even say hi to them, or maybe just a casual hi, just with a fake smile. And that's sad, in my opinion, because
It is.
at the end of the day, it should all be about, we are social creatures. I miss the old days, like pre-internet, where we all like very connected. We were not as connected worldly, but we're much more connected to people, to our neighborhoods, to friends, to family, to our neighbors. That's the thing I really miss. And if we need to come back to the basics. We all try to be all sophisticated and all that, but at the end of the day, it's all about the basics that matter the most. And if we can just get back to the basic, connecting with people around us, and really say, hey, how are things? How are things really? Is there anything I can do to help you? Then you would be amazed how people would be receptive. And it takes each and every single one of us can do that, one person at a time. And again, it's absolutely criminal, the amount of food that is being wasted. That should not happen in today's age. I mean, a person, facing hunger, famine, or even, God forbid, dying because of not having access to food. We're almost in 2022. That should be almost criminal. It must be criminal, in my opinion. You know. So no, I agree with you. And regarding logistic, mention the lack, and yes, there's a big issue in logistics, because containers are costing 10 times more. My background is in e-commerce. Before the pandemic, to send a container from, say, China to the US was about $3,000. Now it's $25,000.
Mhm.
So a lot of businesses are suffering at the shutdown, because that's not feasible. Only the big boys like the Walmarts and Coke can sustain that, but the small and mom and pops, they cannot do that. Maybe for 1 month, and after that, you can't keep on paying those things. So there's a lot of boats that are sitting empty in ports around the world. Yeah, so we have to do things. Something has to be done.
I want to touch on community.
Yes,
You embrace that in what you were just talking about, and uh, that's one thing that I've been working toward
Mhm.
for decades, is to bring community back, because I believe that that's one way to decrease that divisiveness. When we know our neighbors, we have support that we don't even realize is there, and we can
Yes,
support them, and we get to know each other as humans.
totally,
And it's so important. It's what will, in combination with healing our souls and our hearts,
totally.
build this world back up to where it needs to be.
And I will share just one funny, maybe it might be funny, maybe some people might laugh, but I remember I grew up in the south of France in a small town. I swear to you, I remember still from time to time, our neighbors would come knocking on, hey, can I borrow a little bit of sugar or whatever, salt from you? I mean, that might be sound crazy, and a lot of people would laugh, but honestly, I miss that. It shows that people are connected. We are here to help each other.
Yes, 2 decades ago, I was able to do that with my neighbors, and I
Yeah.
slowly watched that deteriorate.
Oh yeah. Now nobody even
Mm.
says hi to each other, and we barely acknowledge each other, and just like a nod of the head, and from time to time, hi, how are you? I'm good, and that's it. As opposed to going and, hey, just I remember when I was a kid growing up. I don't know if it's something that here, or maybe I was in a small town. It's different in Europe. It's different than here in North America. But back then, neighbors. I remember when I was a kid, when we moved in that area. I swear to you, the neighbors from upstairs, they were from Tunisia, and they had a restaurant in town, like a North African restaurant. And I swear to you, the first night we came in, they brought us like amazing food as a welcome from the restaurant, and at least once a week they would bring us. I'm not talking about leftovers. I'm talking about fresh food from the restaurant once a week without us even saying anything. Maybe that might be an exception, but when I was a kid, that was quite common, people coming in and, just being people, when, for example, my parents were working and I was sick and they couldn't, babysit me, I would just go, they would either come in our place, I would go to their place and they would take care after me. You don't
Yes,
see that
I
anymore.
know. And I do have those memories from when I was a young child. Our neighbors would throw parties
Yeah.
and everybody in the neighborhood was invited.
Yes.
And uh, even our community, the city would hold picnics in the park. And there was just lots of people sharing space and time and enjoyment with each other.
Yeah.
And yes, it's something that we definitely need to get back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, tell us, Katana, I know you're a super talented person, but what would you say is your number one superpower?
Helping people heal their soul
Wow.
through transformational art.
Love that. Love that. That's amazing. We're gonna get
Thank
into
you.
that in a moment. Now, you mentioned earlier that you love traveling. Now, let me ask you this: what was the very first trip that you did?
Oh boy, I've actually been traveling since I was very young. The first one would be when I was 2, and my mom took me to Tijuana, Mexico.
Wow.
Of course, I don't remember that as much.
Sure.
I used to travel to Florida from California every summer to visit my great grandparents there.
Wow.
And then as an adult with family, my ex husband was a truck driver. So we saw
Oh
the
yeah.
country through, being on the truck with them at times.
Sure.
And that was an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Absolutely. Yes. Wow. Now let me take you now on a different type of trip on a trip down memory line. You already started a little bit, so I want you to go back to when you were a young girl growing up. When we're young kids, people around us, family, friends, relatives, teachers ask us, "Hey, Katana, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer back then? Do you remember?
I wanted to fly jets.
Oh wow, that's amazing! Wow, you had someone in the family that was military, or
Yes, most of my family is
oh
military.
wow,
Most,
wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that? Did you become
Uh,
a pilot?
no, and unfortunately, I was sidelined due to medical
Ah,
issues, and that's okay because it led me down the path that I'm at today, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
that's awesome. You mentioned pilot. Me too. When I was a kid, the first thing I wanted to do was to become an astronaut because ever since I can remember, I had this incredible fascination with the stars, the universe, and all that. And then after that, I wanted to become a pilot somewhere that my nickname was Pilot, when I was growing up. But I
That's
couldn't make
wonderful.
it. Yeah, because I'm not good in math and science, and my eyesight is not the perfect, and that you need a perfect eyesight for that. Wow, amazing. Now, let's stay to when you were a kid. What was your favorite subject in school?
Math,
Oh, wow.
math,
That's
and
amazing.
then science was second, and art was third.
Wow. And which subject you could not stand?
English.
Why? The teacher or
No, it was a lot of the grammatical
oh yeah, me
parts
too.
and the structure of words that didn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of debates with teachers over the structures of words.
Absolutely. Now, let's move forward from the time you left school to now and talk about your path. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was straightforward, smooth sailing all the way, or was it like turns and twists, like a roller coaster all along?
Oh boy, it was definitely like trying to climb the Alps on
That's
foot
a
with no
beautiful,
map.
that's a beautiful image. Oh yes. Have you been there?
No, I haven't. I would love to be there someday.
Oh yes.
And it was very difficult because I grew up mentally, physically, and sexually abused. And in the process, I experienced 3 rapes,
Sorry to hear that.
and I attempted suicide 9 times before the age of 18.
How many
So
times?
yes, 9 times.
Oh wow. Wow. Did you have any help, any person to we're gonna talk about it in a moment, but wow. That's
At that age, I did not have support. It wasn't
wow.
until I became an adult that I received the support that I needed.
Oh wow. It's so sad that some kids have to go through so much, cruelty growing up because, wow. I can't even fathom how can an adult do that to a child or even a teenager because a teenager is still, in their formative years and they're very vulnerable, very fragile. I can't understand how can a grown adult do that to a child, let alone to someone of their own family, their own blood. That's even worse. I can't,
It,
wow.
I actually today can look back and see everyone through the lens of innocence and their fear. And I do have empathy for them. I do have compassion for them. And I would have never thought I could be there. But here I am today, and I can see that. I can feel that. I can forgive it. I don't forget it, but I can forgive it.
That's beautiful. I never was religious, but I always believed in God. So during the pandemic, I had a spiritual awakening. So the previous version of me, when something bad happened to me, was always, whining and playing the victim. Why me? Why did I deserve this? But now the newer version of me takes a step back and asks, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson this is trying to teach me? When you look at things from this perspective, you understand things at a much deeper level. So now that you look back at those events, those people, as horrible as they might have been back then, what would you say has been the lesson that these were trying to teach you?
That not everybody is evil. And even though they do things that might be described that way, you never know what happened to them. And I learned that through my psychotherapy. And it was explained to me that most people that go through what I went through come out on the darker side, and they tend to be abusers. And so it really, really changed my perspective on people. I used to just think, oh, well, they were all bad people. They should be in jail, or they should be where they're at. And now I see that we need to be able to help people more. I think if more people had support, I was fortunate. I had both a teacher and a police officer that saved my life. They were my mentors.
Wow,
And without that, I don't believe I would be where I am today.
that's amazing. So, and a lot of I've spoken to over 110 amazing people, and they all have had to overcome terrible things, some even tragedies and all that. And the one thing that they all say is that these were an insight looking back. At the time, yes, they were very painful, but now they look at them, they were like blessing in disguise that really opened their eyes, opened their heart to who they are now. Would you say the same applies to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe
Mhm.
that the pain that people are suffering globally all over the planet, that it is based in those fears and those traumas and those pains that they experienced early in life. And whether they realize it or not, it does reflect in the way that they behave toward other people and the things that they support or don't support.
Wow. So you mentioned that you had a mentor and a police officer being your saviors. Tell us more about that. How did they help you?
So I got kicked out of the 4th grade
Wow.
because I that was the year I began to have behavioral issues outwardly. I would hold it in up until that point, and one of my classmates pushed me to the point where we had a fight. And it was severe enough that the teacher didn't want me in there. I had other experiences, but the teacher, it's a big part of my story. And so she kicked me out of the class and didn't want me back. And I sat in the principal's office for months. They even
Wow.
sent me to another school, but it was outside of my district. And they said, no, we got to send you back. I sat in the principal's office. And then the fifth grade teacher who saw me every day in there asked and inquired, well, why is this child sitting in here? And they explained to him. And he said, well, can I take her into my classroom? And they said yes. And he worked with me every day. I advanced 2.3 years in his class in a matter of months.
Wow. Phenomenal. God bless
And
him.
yes, so his heart was open in a way that the others weren't. And he helped me flourish. He held that space for me. The police officer would come to our school when I was in seventh grade. He was one of the founders of DARE, actually. And he started to talk to me while he would come and do these talks with us and show us the downsides of doing drugs. And some of it stuck with me permanently visually. And then he became that trusted advisor and mentor. And anytime I had trouble, he was there to hold the space for me, no matter how hard I tried to be bad. So, quotations there. He didn't see it that way. He really worked to keep me going forward and keep me moving forward and seeing the better side of myself. And I believe that was transformational in my life.
Amazing. Fantastic. Now you work now with, from what I understand, with people at the soul level. Now, would you say that these two enlightened souls were meant to be in your life to help you overcome some very dark moments, to open your eyes, open your heart in a way that to get you to be to get on your right path, the path that you were meant to be? Would you say that what I'm trying to say is, with these two people meant to cross your path and play a big role in your life, or were they completely random people that
No,
just happened to be at the right time at the right place?
I definitely believe in divine appointments. And I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that these two people were placed in my path at a
Mm-hmm.
time when I didn't trust adults, particularly, and people of authority.
Oh yes.
These two people represented both adults and authority. And they showed me and opened my heart that there were people that cared, and that made all the difference.
Absolutely. Wow. We all need these people. And I, just like you, I totally believe that everything happens for a reason and at the right time. When the moment comes, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, brings the right people, the right circumstances to get us to where we want to be, to grow, especially to grow at the soul level. Sometimes you meet people that you had no idea were about to meet, and all of a sudden you notice that, hey, these people happen to play a very influential role in your life, some negatively, but even if it's negatively, they're here to teach you a lesson, not to harm you. Everything happens for you, not to you, you know and the ones, so either you learn and grow, or still you learn and grow. Even, I mean, we learn and grow through both the negative experience and the positive experience, and that's why we have characters that show up in our lives to play specific roles, just like in a theater play or in a movie. I mean, and I think that the more I get into the spiritual part, the more I think that life may very well be a play in a movie, that we all come here to play a role. Once the curtain falls, we just go on the behind the curtain and just congratulate each other and say, hey, you did well. Maybe next time you need to work on this, on this line or this aspect, just like actors do, maybe it's a simplified way, but I strongly said I was never, I mean, I was never very religious, but I always believed in God. And the more I learn about this, the more I think that, hey, this actually makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Wow.
100%. For better, for worse,
Totally.
every experience helps shape where we move forward to.
Yes, absolutely. Now let's talk about something lighter and more fun. You mentioned earlier, I mean, we both love traveling. You mentioned that you've been blessed to go to visit almost all 50 states, shy of three. So tell us about the ones that you were and what would you say has been the highlight so far? Which state?
Well,
Oh,
I've
sorry, let me
been,
rephrase that. Which state completely blew your mind and your expectation way beyond what you were expecting?
oh boy, that's challenging because each state is
Mm,
so unique
sure.
in its characteristics. I'd say Pennsylvania was probably the most interesting for me
I was not expecting that, and that's what I love about this. So please tell us why.
because I had growing up in the Bay Area of California, you have one point of view, geographically, you have one point of view. It's rolling green hills and the ocean. And all
It's
you
warm
can
all
do
year
is,
long. Yeah.
you can only imagine what the other states look like. And to see the mountains and the rivers and places that I knew had early American history take place, I would get the chills
Oh yeah.
just just thinking and imagining that scene playing out. But the beauty is also there. Mountains and like I said, it was in fall,
Oh
so I
yeah.
got to see the beautiful
Oh yes.
fall colors, and it was just a really beautiful experience. And I also got to find out for the first time what cold really was.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Real cold, cold, even colder than you freeze. I don't know how cold it gets in Pennsylvania, but just a few states up, especially if you venture into Canada, then you will know what real cold is about.
Well, I showed up without a jacket because
Oh no.
I was a West Coast girl all the way.
Oh, Cali,
And
Cali way
yep.
of life. Oh wow.
So
Oops.
I got there and it was 13 below.
Oops. Yes.
Oops. Yes. And lesson learned. Always
Oh
have a
yes.
jacket.
Oh wow. So would you say that where, I'm sure it's overly and grossly overgeneralizing, but where did you meet the most happiest people, the most friendly people of all in all of these states that you were to? Of course, I'm overgeneralizing, but every place is good and bad. But which place really had the people that really wowed you in a way that, hey, these people are so down to earth, so cool, so warm?
In all of my experiences so
Mm.
far,
Yes.
it has definitely been the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
extremely diversified and there's still that aura of community.
Wow.
People wave at each other, they smile at each other. They they actually will ask you, how is your day going? And it's been 20 plus years since I've lived there. So when I go back, I actually get to see it with new eyes, like a beginner's heart. And it's so warming. And yeah, I'd have to say that that's the one place that still wows me.
That's amazing. I would have expected that from more of the smaller cities and say in the middle of America, because those tend to be much more down to earth. But at least that was my perception. But wow, you know what? That's what I love about this podcast. Always learning and shattering my beliefs and all that. So it's I love that. That's amazing. Wow. Cool. So when do you plan on completing your 50 and doing the last three that you still haven't? You mentioned Michigan, Maine, and which was the other one?
New Hampshire.
Yeah, I'm sure. So do you have any plan for when you're gonna go and complete the list?
When we're able to travel more safely,
Oh yes.
I definitely will make that trip.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. And that's something that I'm
Yes.
also looking forward to visit all 50 states, not only 50 states in the US, but also all what is it, 12, 13 provinces in Canada. One thing I want to
Yes.
do is get like a RV and just fly from Toronto to say St. John on the East Coast and just with RV, maybe a couple of friends, and then a month or two just cross Canada, like all the way up to the Northwest Territory, then the Yukon, Alaska, and then come down on the West Coast to California and all that, and do all the rest of the North American and the US and all that. That's one of the trip I'm planning, maybe for the following year, or because that's going to be and when the world is more safe and open. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I do need to correct myself. I guess that's 4 states because I have not been to Alaska yet. I
Oh yeah,
often forget about our state to the northwest there. And yes, I would love to take that trip
oh
that
yes,
goes up through British Columbia and out
oh
to
it's gorgeous up
Alaska.
there.
Yes.
I used to live in Edmonton, Alberta, working in oil fields, and even there, the mountains. We were driving all the way, and all those job sites in the middle of nowhere in the oil fields. Sometime, even one time it was posted almost by the Arctic Circle, and at night I was blessed to witness not only the Milky Way but also the first time I saw the Northern Lights. I was like, wow! It was minus 30. So I remember I was at the shop with my boss. At first, during the day, I looked for any reason to stay inside the truck and not get out. And finally, in the middle of nowhere, he just stops to come out. So it took him 5 minutes to convince me to go out. But finally, as he said, "Now look up." I looked up, and I swear to you, I was mesmerized. And after that, I did not want to go back to the truck. I completely forgot about the cold. I mean, I was completely frozen, minus 30 Celsius. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but it's 3 times probably colder than you freeze it. So imagine being there and you still you don't even completely oblivious to the cold. Say, wow, that's how majestic the sight was. And finally, he had to literally grab me by the arm and push me into the truck because he was getting cold as well. So that's amazing.
That's wonderful. I felt the same way when I left California the first time. I We moved to Wells, Nevada,
Wow.
and that first time that I walked outside at night, I was absolutely shocked at how, expansive the sky was, and it felt like the stars were right where I could touch them.
Oh yes. Oh
So,
yes.
having grown up in the city, I had no idea. And I just remember sitting there for hours with my two oldest children and just being in awe
Oh
of
yes.
that expansiveness, but it's so beautiful.
That's one of the things that I would love to do when just camp in the big outdoors in Nevada or whatever places like that we can see away from all this, light pollution. Even here, sometimes, I mean, every night I go out either outside on the balcony, just look up. As I told you earlier, I have this incredible fascination with the stars. I even have an app that tells me which star it is, how far it is, and all that. So I would love to even sleep under the stars and just. That's one thing I really want to do. I mean, I have this. I know that we cannot be the only ones out there. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Mathematically, it doesn't make any sense. It's complete ludicrous to think that we're the only one and this is the only life we have. I mean, that's completely that beyond any logic as far as I'm concerned. Anyone with an IQ over 5 will realize that.
I absolutely agree. And I've had this conversation many times. Um, yeah. And I've always been fascinated with the stars myself as well. I even took astronomy in college so I
Wow.
could have a course on just understanding what it is that I was looking at.
Awesome. Now, Let's move forward. Let's talk now about your business. Tell us about what you do. Just going over your website, I loved what your values. You have love, embracing our beingness, creativity, playful exploration, empowerment, alignment with our best self, and trust, sacred and safe. Tell us more about what you do, and tell us more about all of that. And so, because that's fascinating.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Um, and again, yes, I work with professionals over 40, and I help them find relief from the negative triggers and traumas in their lives through transformational art. And the transformational art I discovered in my photography class, and it saved my life
Wow.
because, as I mentioned there on the website, I found myself in a grocery store in Reno, Nevada on the canned vegetable aisle, and I'm having a panic attack. And it was triggered by a can of veg all, which was related to my PTSD growing up. And that was that moment that I realized, even after 22 years of therapy, I was still being triggered and it was still traumatizing me. I was like, this has got to stop. So I used the art processes that I was going through in college to get my bachelor's degree. And that was when I discovered the power of transformational art. I have, yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
I use that to help other people regain their inner strength so they can live with more joy and peace in their lives.
You mentioned your client avatar or people over 40. Are you focusing mainly with men, women, or doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Why did you choose? What made you focus on people over 40?
The theory is that we are our best clients.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And professionals that are over 40 have a whole set of challenges that come later in life. And I've been there. I've done that. I had my first heart attack at 29 and I still deal with heart issues. I've been through divorce. I've done the empty nest. I've lost businesses due to COVID, um, starting all the way over from beginning. So I understand those stressors and traumas that carry over and keep us from being our best selves and keep us stuck from financial gain, from relationship gains, from health gains. Health is a really big one. People don't really connect stress to their overall health. And to achieve whole body health, we really have to get stress under control. So that's why this is passionate for me. And it is for the over 40 that have a lot more on their plate than maybe somebody who's 20 years old.
Absolutely. Wow. The first thing you said after I asked the question, which is powerful, is that we are our best client. Absolutely. Because the best people to serve are people that the people that we can serve the most and the highest level as people that have as close to us as possible. Because, that's one thing I notice in especially in the coaching industry. A lot of people come from good intention. They have good heart. They want to help everyone with all the problems, but unfortunately, only God can help everyone with all of the problems. Me and you, we're not God, so we can only help a very specific person with a very specific issue, and that's what we need to focus on finding. Because the more we can narrow that down, the more we can help a specific person at the highest level. And that's one very powerful principle that I learned. I'm trying also to help other people understand as well. So I'm very happy that you have that. Now, tell us, how long you've been doing that and helping people over 40?
I've actually been doing that for right around 2 decades.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So you have quite a plethora of amazing success stories, I imagine.
Yes. And it's beautiful to see. It really is.
For me, one of the greatest reward in business is not the financial reward, it's the impact, the result you're having, the lives you're changing, because that's much, much, much more powerful than any amount of money, at least from as far as I'm concerned.
It's yes, and yes, and it takes me back to the smiling, because when
Absolutely.
I can see someone I'm working with go to that smile, it's not just a smile. You can see their soul lit up. You
Gratitude.
can see them, yeah, you can just see them shining from the inside out. That's that's what it's about. And having that
Absolutely.
strength and courage to go forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, the greatest gift, the greatest reward is seeing the eyes of someone you helped, inspired, impacted positively, especially someone that has nothing to give back to you, but all they have is just a wonderful smile and their eyes filled of joy and happiness and gratitude. And when you see that, it touches your soul in such a way that I call it orgasm for the soul, because it touches you at your deepest level. It's the most powerful, the most beautiful feeling ever. It's like a drug, seriously, for me.
Yes, I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. And the first time I truly recognized that, I was helping a group of people reach out to the homeless in Reno,
Oh yeah.
Nevada, at one of the parks. And I asked how I could help. And they said, you know, if you could just put all these clothes together, shirts, pants, socks, so that they have specific piles they can go to. I went one step further, and I didn't even realize it at the time. I folded all those clothes
Oh
and
wow.
organized them according to size.
Oh wow.
And some of the families that came thanked me, and
Of
I
course.
I I was surprised, and I said, "For what?" And they said, "You made us feel human by folding those clothes."
Oh wow.
Those simple acts, it still, it makes me feel emotional,
Yes, me too.
because you don't realize just how simple of an act it can be to reach that soul.
Absolutely. And I will add to that wonderful what you just said. Sometimes we walk around and we see people homeless that we don't even pay attention for us are just part of the scenery, like the trees or whatever. But all we take, and what you said is very powerful. What we can do can be very insignificant, just saying hi, how are you, how's your day in a meaningful way. If you see the same person every day in the same place, say hi to them. Take 30 seconds, a minute of your life, no matter how busy you are. Have a conversation, because for them, they're not there by choice. Life has, they've got some tough, whatever circumstance, whatever. They're down doesn't mean that they're a bum or they're useless or whatever. Just they're down on their luck. With all,
Yeah.
and they might have lost hope on humanity. But all it takes is just one person to rekindle that fire, just treat them as a human being. I'm not saying treat them with special VIP treatment, just as human being. Hi, how are you? How's your day? What are you doing? What's your story? Try to get to know them. Bring them a sandwich, a coffee, whatever.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of giving money, but give them something to help. And even some of these people, after you talk to them, if you know that these people are actually trying to do something good, but they're down on the luck, give them a book.
Mhm.
Even, I love watching on YouTube those guys that just go around and helping homeless people, and not just buying them food, but there's a Turkish guy, he has his channel. He goes around, he gives them haircut, lets them shower and all that, go buy them clothes, and even let them crash for a few days at this place until they find a job so they can get back on their feet. That's something that I'll I will be doing. We live outside in a small city, and fortunately there's not many homeless here, but I do want to help other people as soon as we can get out, because this life is all about helping. There's so many people, unfortunately, that need help, and every single one of us can do even something is significant. I can't tell you how many people I've had on the podcast. I will tell you briefly the story of one lady, phenomenal lady on my podcast. She's from India. She's in India. She's now a very successful business lady. She's the executive director of probably the biggest NGO in India. But her story is she grew up in a small village, and in Indian culture, girls don't have the same opportunities as boys. But she was lucky that she had a forward-thinking father. Father was working at university. She was doing her studies, and then unfortunately, her father passed away, and she had no other way to support herself or pay for her study. But there was a enlightened soul at the university staff that said, "Hey, don't worry, we're gonna take care of your expenses." That
Wow.
saved her life. Now she blossomed into a wonderful leader. And then, and I had a podcast. So, did you get back to that person and thank them? Said, I tried to find him, but I couldn't. But now, after talking with me on the podcast, she made a mission to go and talk and track the guy. And the guy was still working, but at a different university. And when she reached out to him, he said, "Well, thank me for what? I didn't do anything special. I just did something very, what every person would do, something natural for me." The point is, he did something that was very small for him, that didn't matter, but that changed someone's life. And now that is impacting so many other people's lives in a so much positive way. That's something that we can all do. And one of the things I love about the podcast connect me to so many amazing people. One of them being, I got connected to both the founders of a wonderful organization called B1G1, buy one, give one. So each time business is done, someone in need gets to benefit. They started this organization back in 2007, and to date, they have impacted over 270, almost 275 million people worldwide. And that can start with as little as 1 cent a day. Like, for example, each time you get on a Zoom call, someone can get access to education. Each time a company sends an email, someone gets access to education or clean water or food or anything like that. And I'm so excited about that. And now I'm implementing that on my business. I'm launching, as I told you, my launch to help people, to help heart-centered entrepreneurs find their voice, to become the leaders they are, in order for them to have a bigger impact. For each person that registers, each client that registers for that, I will do something that is very passionate to me in both ways. Last night I was looking at the website to look for a project to link to a cost, to link to my business. Football is my religion. Football, soccer. I love football. I grew up in Europe, in the south of France, and I worked. My dream growing up was becoming a football professional player. I wasn't good enough, but then later, around 2015, I had an incredible opportunity to go work in China as a football coach. I've seen how football can really transform lives, especially kids. So as soon as I saw there was a project that you can sponsor a year of football access to a child who has no access to it, I swear to Catana, I cried, because that was a perfect project for me. I had goosebumps. I reached out right away to the founders of the company, said, "Hey, this project's still going on?" I said, "Yes," because I would love to put that. So the point is, each person that signs up, I will be able to do something that I love. It's going to be impactful, which is, providing a year of access to football to a child. It's not just a child and a teen, not just for them to have fun, but because for me, sports is one of the greatest schools of life, because it can instill invaluable life skills to someone. And also for me, football is my biggest life passion. And if I can help spread that passion, because football can be an incredible school, as I said, I've learned some of the biggest lessons in life from sports, from football, especially teamwork, never giving up, being this competitiveness and all this thing that, football is a way to escape all your, problems and issues. It allows you to connect with people to just for an hour or two, whatever you play it, to be a child again, to have no worries. And that's what I want to do. And for me, it's all about giving. Sure, we all need to make money, but let's make money. Let's do so in a way that's impactful, meaningful, purposeful. So that together we can create a better world. All of us can do it. And again, just getting back to the point, sorry for going on a long tangent, but all of us can do something that is significant for us. It can be life-changing for us. Like, for example, it takes $50, $100 for 1 year of sponsoring someone's education, say in India. What is $100 for us? You can spend that just for a couple of drinks and a pizza on a night out, because here it's very expensive in Toronto. I'm assuming the same thing in the US. You can drop $100 without even thinking, without even knowing where it went. But that can have a life-changing effect on a child. Imagine that.
Yes. That's beautiful. No,
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's always beautiful when we can find those causes that align with us
Oh yeah. I
and we
swear to
can
you,
get that passion behind.
I was crying last night. I had goosebumps. I still have it when I talk here. And I the founders are in Singapore, so it's 13-hour difference. So it was evening here, was morning there, Monday morning for them, Sunday night for us. So that's a perfect. I sent to both of them a message on Facebook. Hey guys, I found the perfect project. Is it still active? He said, yes, absolutely. Okay, I would love to include that in my launch this week. He said, absolutely. I'm gonna have a call with them to further, finalize the details and make sure this works. But I'm super excited because finally I'm able to do what I've been preaching for years, which is each time something business happens, someone benefits, and especially the cause is really dear to my heart.
That's beautiful. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. See, this is what I love about talking with incredible art-centered people, and because it's all about, all of us can do a little bit that for us is doesn't mean anything, but can really help someone change their lives. And that's all about it, because a lot of people out there, all they need is just a little push, just a little push. People have been pushed down so much negativity. What do you think you are? You were born a girl. What do you think? I mean, one of the girls in the video, when you go on my website, you will see absolutely very touching. Each time I watch that, I get goosebumps. She said, well, I'm a girl. And when I play football, people ask me, why are you playing football? You're a girl. You're not supposed to do that. And when I hear that, say, oh my God, wow. No, you definitely need to play football, because football is for everyone.
And
We should
see
not
it
be.
that resonates with me
Oh
because
yeah,
I enjoyed math and science, and my teacher would tell me girls don't talk about that.
exactly.
Girls
See?
don't think about that. And yeah, we need to break
Oh,
those
absolutely.
glass
Absolutely.
boxes.
We can all do anything we want, especially let's not limit people just because of what they are, whatever, where they're born, because you have no control over that.
That's right.
But you do have a control of what they become. Let's inspire them instead of, limiting them, or pushing them down, or limiting them, whatever. So, and that's what I want to realize with this podcast, to create a movement of people doing good, to create a better world together, not just by me, because not any single individual can change the world, but if every single one of us can do a little bit in our own circle of influence, and we can each do a little bit, and together we can start a ripple effect around the world. You know,
Big
you
one.
you're good in math. I was never good in math, but I do know that in math, 1+1 is 2, but in real life, 1+1 is not 2, especially when two people have the same vision. It's 11. Three people together, it's not 3, but 111. Four people is not 4, but 1,111. Point is, it exponentially explodes.
Yes. Yes. Ah, so
So,
beautiful.
absolutely. Thank you. Now, you've been blessed to work with and inspire and change, impact positively many lives over the past 2 decades at your work. Tell us, I would like you to share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients.
I would have to say that it would be from somebody who was completely depressed and could barely really function day to day. They laid on their couch and really cut off themselves from their social interactions, both in interpersonal relationships and then even in the greater social relationships. It was affecting their job. And watching that transformation, to see somebody start to be up, get up, dress up, show up, and then start helping other people. I couldn't have asked for anything more
Oh yeah,
than just that right there. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. This is amazing. This is what I love to not only talk with beautiful, heart-centered people, but also to hear their wonderful stories, the mission, the impact they're having around the world. Because business is not about profit, as far as I'm concerned. Business is supposed to be about impact, because when you focus on impact, then the money's going to take care of itself. Sure, as I said, we all need to make money, but let's do it in a way that's impactful, purposeful, meaningful. And guess what? When you do that way, not only become a different person, but it's a lot more fun too. You know,
Absolutely.
and this life is all
Absolutely.
about fun. What it should, we all are looking for ways to smile, to laugh, to be happy, and to have fun. And this is one of the best ways to do that, to link together business and fun. You know.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I like about what I do with the transformational art part
Mhm.
of what I do, because it's combined with life coaching. But the transformational art allows people to play. So they're
Oh yes.
dealing with these issues, but at the same time, they get to use the art to play. And that's a part of us that we're denied as adults.
Mhm.
We're all big kids at heart. And we're told that, well, when you're an adult, you don't play anymore. You've got to be serious. You've got to take that part and put it away. That's in the past. And I don't subscribe to that myself. And I believe that we could become better communicators, which is going to help all of our relationships, all of them,
Oh, absolutely.
through play and through alternative ways of seeing the bigger picture. Is so,
Totally.
yeah.
And actually, playing, especially as adults, is very important because it brings us back to our lost childhood. Childhood is for all, most of us as a kid to very happy times and all that. And let's bring that happiness back into our lives. Let's, and also not only when we're happy, we are much more open and receptive to connecting with other people. It brings people together. What are the things that bring people together? Sports, games. Why? Because they're fun. They remind us of our childhood. That's how the Olympics, all the big sporting events, the World Cup, whatever, they're so popular. They bring people together. They even so powerful that they're able to stop wars because they bring the best, the beautiful part of us together. And that's what we need to. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's amazing. You know. Tell me now, speaking of your business, how are you getting your clients? Do you have a specific marketing game plan? Are you running ads, or is it strictly word of mouth and referrals?
Word of mouth and referrals is the primary way I'm reaching out right now. I just recently started contacting institutions, big institutions, to see about working with nurses and lawyers and people that are going to be those professionals that are going to be in high stress level positions. So, and currently I have a an event that's coming up, and it's a 90-minute meeting on Zoom, and I will take people through my magic of the transformational art, and they will walk away with skills and tools to begin that process of healing themselves.
Amazing, amazing. Is that is that masterclass something you do on a weekly basis? Is this how often do you do that?
Monthly.
Oh, monthly. When is the next one?
The next one is December 17th,
What time?
and it is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All right.
And they can get that information on my website.
All right. Let me write this down. I'll put it in the show notes. Okay. One sec. Let me just find the contact here. Where are you? Okay, one sec. Okay, where is it? Okay, what's your website?
It is https
Yeah,
colon //
yeah.
CL Malinowski
Okay.
.wix
Okay.
site.com.
Is that the link you sent me earlier?
Yes,
Okay.
forward with another /
Okay.
a dash new Friendliest-perspective.
All right, I'll definitely put that in the show note because I want if I can help you spread your message, your beautiful message of hope, of empowerment and inspiration, then that would be the least I can do for you because I'm all about, helping people do good out there. Awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you, Payman.
Very welcome. Pleasure's all mine. Now, speaking of that, so your next event you said on the 17th. Okay. Um, all right. How would you say is your structure of your program? Is it when someone joins you, is it like a coaching one-on-one? Is it small group? Is it videos? So tell us about the structure. How long does it take for them to, from the moment they start until they go through it? And yeah, tell us about the structure if someone is interested about to learn more about that.
Yes, it is one-on-one, 1 hour each week over 90 days.
Oh, wow.
And we go through a series of journaling and sketching and creating of art. And through all of that, then they come out with not only their written story, but a visual story for themselves while gaining that inner strength through the life coaching that's going on along with the program.
That's amazing. Wow. Fantastic. Awesome.
Thank
I'll
you.
definitely put that in the show notes. And if you have any, I will ask all your links at the end of the call, at the end of the podcast. So now let's move forward. The theme of this podcast is doing good and cause. What would you say is a cause that is dear to your heart, Katana?
Affordable housing.
Oh yes, that's a big one.
I have personal experience working on that. I've got a good decade of working on that, particularly in Nevada, and I've been to the legislature. I helped get an affordable housing bill passed,
Wow.
and it was a beginning. It wasn't enough, but it was a beginning. And I look forward to continuing that cause.
Well, all big things start small. Every big thing started small. So keep pushing.
Yes.
God and universe are cheering for you. I'm definitely cheering for you. So
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing. Very welcome. Now, listen, we can talk for hours. It's been over an hour. I love your vibe, your energy, your genuineness. You're such a
Thank you.
beautiful heart. But let's wrap things up. And to finish, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions about advices. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So, what would you say has been the best piece of advice that you've received so far?
Speak from the heart.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
Yes.
And what would you say has been the worst piece of advice you've received so far? Get a job.
Yes.
I keep that hearing all the time.
I just heard that several times over the last month. So yes, get a job.
Especially when you work online, people have no idea how you're making money. They can't even understand it. Think, is this legal? Are you sure? Are you selling drugs? Or you think, no. Actually, something would be bad. It would be bad to tell them, yes, I'm selling drugs, so they can just leave you alone. You know what I mean?
Yes. Deterrent from those questions. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now imagine that since you love traveling, now imagine that you were blessed to have a time machine, and you can go back and sit face to face right now with the 18-year-old Catana. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Love yourself first.
Oh yes, that's super important. We tend to do things for others, care about others, pay others, but not do for us, and that's not a good place to be. I have been guilty of that, and I'm learning to change that finally.
Yes.
That is powerful. Awesome.
Thank you.
Now, you don't have your podcast yet, but imagine that you add your podcast, and today you have the most special guest in the world, which is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What would be the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
Why do you do what you do?
And you answer?
My calling in life is to help people.
Wow.
And that would be tremendous to be able to impact the lives of people all over the world.
Amazing. Speaking of that, I read a quote last year that still remains with me and will remain with me for the rest of my life, which is the two most important dates in our lives are one, when you're born, and two, when you realize why you're here. So you mentioned that your purpose is to help people. At what point did you realize that, hey, this is my purpose, this is my mission, my reason of being here? Was that a single event that happened, or was that something over the years that you just, slowly get to, hey, this is what I need, this is what I'm here for?
I actually had a series of events that kind of pointed right at it, and those nudges that we get. And yet I wasn't quite paying attention. So the universe really gave me an avalanche starting this past August.
Oh, yes. Each time stronger. I know.
Yes. And looking back at the people that I had helped, that I didn't ask for monetary compensation, and realizing how much I helped them and that it came directly from the heart, and that it was something that I could dedicate the rest of my life doing every day with passion. It was just, it actually was a download I received while I was asleep.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Now, my favorite question to ask is, what is the smallest thing you've done that has had the biggest impact in your life? For me, without hesitation, has been starting the podcast. How about you? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean just the one thing you've done that has had the biggest impact so far, positive impact in both your life and your business.
Oh boy. That would be just that taking the time to invest in myself so I could be here right now, developing the business that will help people.
Amazing. Wow. And then final question is from me. I want you to be very direct. I don't want you to be nice or kind. I want you to give me tough love. What tips do you have for me to improve my podcast? I know you're nice. Don't be nice.
In all honesty, I find that your questions are direct. They're all encompassing. You get to really know your the person you're interviewing so that you can connect them with your audience. And I would say that more of it.
Oh, wow. You want me to ask you more questions? We can do a part two. All right, done. You're on record. We'll set that up after. But anything I can improve? Thank you. I appreciate that. That really means a lot to me.
I don't really see anything that needs direct improvement, because I really, really like the wholeness of your program. And what I mean by that is that heart-centered approach, and that it's natural and organic, and that it's not like I'm visiting 60 Minutes or, one of the big name radio programs that, okay, be careful what you say, how you say it, I like the organic nature of your program, because it allows for that human development in there.
Thank you. That's all it's about, is to get to know the person, human being. And that's why I'm not a fan of editing. I only do editing when absolutely necessary, when there is, say, a pause or a call gets disconnected, if something really bad happens, but that has never happened so far, maybe on one occasion. And that's it. So I like to keep it as natural, as organic as possible, and to really have a heart-to-heart conversation to get to know the person. Because I told you, business, There's a saying that says business and numbers game. Sure, numbers matter, but for me, business is much more than numbers. It's a relationship building, nurturing process. People do business with people that they can connect and relate with as a human being first. When you're looking, say, for a financial advisor, say a realtor or whatever, sure, they all qualified, they all have all the qualifications, but which one you're going to pick on is going to be the one that you connect with the most and the best as a person. And that's what this podcast is, to allow my guest to get to know them, to display themselves, to get to know the person behind the title, because ultimately that's how we do business. So when the person gets to know you, as I told you last time when we spoke about the podcast, you don't have to pitch, convince, seduce, or kidnap them to do business. It's going to be a natural progression. It's going to say, "Oh,
Yes.
this is what you do. Okay, can you help me with that? Let's set up a call time after." That's how business has been done since the first human beings, and it's going to be done since the last human beings, because we're social creatures. You know. Awesome, awesome. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, Catana, what's the best way to do so?
They can reach me through my email, and that's Catana L Malinowski at gmail.com, or through the website.
Okay, I'll put that on the show notes. Um, all right. Listen, Catana, I love talking to you. You're such a beautiful human being with an incredible, very powerful story. But and as a result of that, you have such a more powerful and inspiring mission. You've been able to help, not just help, but to empower, inspire, and change lives for the past 2+ decades. And I wish you to continue doing that for the next maybe 200 million years to come, if not more. That's just getting warmed
Yes.
up, you know? Because I'm
Yes.
pretty sure you're only getting started to get warmed up. You haven't even started yet. So keep shining your light, keep blessing the world with your presence and your impact. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. God bless you too, Payman.
Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. You too. Bye bye.